back for the second time, and our guest is Peter Shank. And let's just make sure, Peter, are you there?
I am.
Wonderful. We are so delighted to have you back and play some more.
And I want to tell people that we don't have people back unless people ask for them to come back. In other words, our guests, we don't just say, well, we like them and we're bringing them back.
Yeah.
It has to be acknowledged by the membership. This is a membership program, as you know. And the thing that I like here is this is a very unusual process that he has, and it has to do with quantum energy, and I'll let him explain a little more.
Now, we're going to tell you about Peter. Some of you may be meeting Peter for the first time, but if you go and look at the index in your portal, you will be able to find when Peter first appeared on Healing Wednesday, and I encourage you to go and watch that replay if you haven't seen it already. But Lee, let's tell everyone about Peter.
I think the replay is almost like homework because of what we're going to do next.
Yes.
Peter Shank is the founder of something called Modern Day Mystic. Now, I love this part, inspired by the work of Masaru Emoto. Dr. Emoto is the water crystal man, and I think most of you watching this are very familiar with that. Peter applied his skills as a world-class IT engineer to find a link between Dr. Emoto's work and a mathematical and quantum principles. Yeah.
Now, in 2007, Peter succeeded in reducing the force that is behind all of creation to a mathematical integer that he called source energy. Are you interested? I certainly am. And that became the foundation for a completely new kind of software which is capable of harnessing the power of numbers to manage the intensity and to focus that source energy when it's used in concert with the human being's innate ability to focus intention. And this breakthrough, it led to the first version of the Aquaware software.
Before creating Modern Day Mystic, Peter Shank developed software to bolster the fortunes of one of the largest financial institutes of the planet, institutions. So I just say this so you're not a guy who just decided to be interested in software. So he really has a track record. But after a turning point in his spiritual awakening, like so many of us who started in business, he realized he was intended to serve a greater purpose. Today, Peter continues to develop his underlying technology into a family of hyper-focused software tools that synergize mystical energy and quantum principles with the power of human intent.
Now, his software, it's continuing to receive accolades and positive testimonials from users all over the world who report life-changing results. And Peter is dedicated to spreading its use far and wide for the betterment of humanity and for peace on Earth. So, Peter, welcome back. Let us now meet some of your inventions and play and have fun.
Yay.
Thank you, Lee. And Monica, on the first segment that we did, I really kind of talked about where I came from and where we're going. And today, I'll describe a little bit of that for first-time listeners, but we're really going to play with a couple new products that came out within the last 6 months and use them for self-healing. So about 20 years ago, I had a wake-up experience unlike anything in my reality. Some people take a lifetime to wake up. Some people take years to wake up. Mine happened instantaneously in August 20 years ago. Imagine seeing the whole world in black and white with your physical eyes, and the next second, everything was 3D, high-def color. I was bestowed with the gift of sight, meaning I could see energy in everything. And if you can see that energy, you can control it for the light. So fast forward a little while, I was being impulsed to help people on a level that I've never felt before. I became successful early on in my career. It was all about bigger homes, more cars, more of this. And the more successful I became in the material world, the more empty of a shell I became. I had no love of self, no discernment, zero humility. If you would have asked me what that was, I would have said, "Is that a new drink?" I had no idea.
I'm writing this down, Peter. I love that.
So as this overwhelming sensation to help people started to fill me. My background is in engineering, so I see things very abstract and black and white, zeros and ones, yes or no, and it makes me in that world very proficient at what I do. So as this metaphysical mind started growing, it was a check and balances between the right and the left-hand side of my brain to kind of bring together things that made sense. Because in the metaphysical world, it's easy to talk about energy and products, and it's easy to confuse people about that. But the right-hand side of my brain, the analytical side, always kept the checks and balances. So sometime in 2004, I started watching videos of Dr. Emoto's work, and I said, I want to create a software program that allows people to project intent into water anywhere, impress the light frequencies of that. In July 4, 2007, Aquaware, the first in a line of software, was released. Today, all of the software is found on the moderndaymystic.com website as a SaaS platform, meaning it's no more of a download. You can sign up for a monthly subscription, and you can run it on any device that supports a web browser and a data connection. That's it. It's that simple. It's fast, it's powerful, and it's very, very intuitive. So as the years progressed, as this metaphysical mind grew, and my understanding of how the universe really works, it's a game, right? Lots of people have great ideas in the world, and they never get off the ground. When you create action, you create a reaction, and it's the reaction of the universe coming back to you with a bit of information. And what you do with that information determines if you move to a higher octave, right? So it's always a learning curve to get there. The things that I've created in the last 6 months, and you're going to see these today, and we're going to experience them, like would have never crossed my conscious mind 3 years ago, because I had to do the work to get the responsibility and the understanding of how these products can truly help people. So today we're going to play with a new product that came out called the DNA Alter. And this is a lab-grown quartz crystal product that has a giant crystal on top.
Wow.
It has the flower of life. It has a DNA string and the infinity symbol. And down below has the flower of life and 4 DNAs. And right in the center is a beautiful ruby. Okay. I sourced these rubies from India. They're uncut rubies. They come in different sizes. And depending on the person that orders them, I pick the rubies that go with the product.
Wow.
So the DNA Alter was born to help heal people on an energetic DNA level. And this works extremely fast and very, very proficiently. And things that I create have to be simple to use. They have to be powerful. They have to be absolutely beautiful, but yet deliver everything in a way that's just fun. Because the way energy works, the way the universe works, the universe is a child. It's always been childlike energy. When you are, an infant, right, sees the world as magic up until maybe 8 months, and then conditioning starts, right? We teach it, and somewhere in life we lose that magic. I regained that magic 20 years ago when I had my wake-up experience. And now everything I do is always done from a place of love, and done with, this childlike energy that just oozes through me and the products. And in that mindset comes power, true power for change. So today we're going to play with the DNA crystal. So anyone listening to the show, this is very, very simple. You just want to sit down, straighten up your back, put your elbows down. Now, this is going to be a slight variant if you own the product, because if you're doing this, obviously you're in front of you, but all I need you to do is just put your attention on this ruby as you're following the instructions, okay? The ruby is where the magic is actually going to happen for us. So go ahead and just close your eyes, have your palms facing you, facing out, and what we want to do is everything I do, I go against the grain of what's in the consciousness grid. And I do this on purpose, okay? Because I have blinders on in my business model. I don't know what the left and the right is doing. Everything I get comes from my source, a place of information that is unadulterated. It's pure, it's childlike energy. And what I'm about to show you will go against the grain of everything you're taught. And that's where power comes from. So I want you to breathe through your mouth, exhaling through your nose. And with each in-breath, I want you to paint a black screen in your mind's eye. Now I want you to put your attention on that ruby and still have that blank screen in there. Now, in your body, okay, if you have a source of healing that needs to be done, I want you to put your body on a black silhouette that we've just created. Continue to breathe through your mouth, exhaling through your nose. And in that black silhouette, you have your body kind of outlined there. And with each in-breath, I want you to zoom in on the part of the body that needs healing. And eventually you're going to bump up against the skin. On the next in-breath, we're going to penetrate the skin and we're getting smaller. Everything that we're moving through is getting larger. And as you're moving down through your body to this area that needs healing, you're going to start to see something a little scary. That is what low vibe energy looks like, that is causing what the ailment that needs to be healed. Mm-hmm. Now, with your attention still on that ruby, with each in-breath as we're zooming in, you're going to notice the DNA, okay? Doesn't matter if you've never seen it before. It can show itself to you in many, many forms. Just be open to it. Now, with your attention on that ruby, I want you to repeat 8 magical words out loud. I honor the space in which you exist.
I honor the space in which you exist.
And then I want you to put your attention on the entire DNA altar and repeat the following after me. I am.
I am.
I was. And I will be again.
And I will be again.
Now watch what happens. Notice the energy of the DNA is self-repairing itself based on the geometry, the perfect mathematics that are done within the DNA altar. Continue to breathe through your mouth, exhaling through your nose. By now, your fingers are probably tingling with power. So that is a small example of what the DNA altar can actually accomplish. You can also use this product for remote healing, using the same method on a person anywhere in existence. When you start to use quantum-based products, time, space, and distance are completely irrelevant, because as science tells us, through quark theory, string theory, and just basic principles that I've read, on the quantum understanding, it never made any sense to me. What made sense to me was that if I have the capacity to understand that everything is energy and that energy is all interconnected, that interconnected plane is what science coins the quantum realm. It's a place where space, time, and distance don't exist. It's only pure consciousness. And your consciousness can exist nowhere or it can exist everywhere at the same time. So where you put your attention, the intention will follow. It's the same principles with the software, same principles with the DNA alter. How you guys doing? You feeling all right?
Yeah, and definite tingles through the hands.
Yeah, I was tingling before you said I was supposed to tingle. I was like, sorry.
Yeah.
But that's how healing is done. In that realm, it's done instantly. And the body, the physical body, because we're in this three-dimensional reality that we call life, it typically takes about 72 hours for the two to kind of mesh into this reality. So the last time I was on the show, we talked about the Harry Potter wands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. These are masterfully crafted pure copper and silver wands that have a great amount of detail. And I'm going to show you one quickly. You'll notice 3 bands that go on here. The 2 outer ones have 3 symbols, and the middle one has a symbol of source. Now, I quickly talked about how the game is played with the universe, right? You have to you have to create action for that reaction to happen, and you have to move forward. Well, to gain the level of knowledge to create these, I actually had to create 2 other product lines, the I Am bracelets and the I Am pyramids, and there's 13 of them. And any energy in existence, whether it's in physical form or non-physical form, has what we call a true name. And if you have the ability to capture that true name, then you hold power, absolute power over the dominion of that energy to be used for the light. So the true name can come in the form of a symbol, a spoken tone, a word, a color. And if you can extrapolate that, you can use it for the light for a lot of amazing things. So in the product creation of the I Am bracelets and the I Am pyramids, before that, I had to come up with the true names for 13 I Ams. And oddly enough, the 13th one became I Am Presence. And I Am Presence should have been the first one that I thought of, but it's the carrot that's in front of you that you never see until you do the work. And then it shows up.
Yeah.
So each one, so a complete set comes with two Vita Navitus, we call this. And on there are lab-grown gemstones on the end. You have green, you have yellow, and you have red and blue. Okay, these are the 4 supporting primary colors for a lot of different things. Healing, manifesting, changing your reality. When you hold Vita Navitus in your hands, you feel the power instantly through your body. When they are activated, you glow, and you can direct energy and create all kinds of things. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use the yellow and the green for a different way of healing, okay? So what I'd like everybody to do again is just kind of straighten your back up and put your elbows down with your palms facing out. And I want you to put your attention, because we're doing this remotely, on the yellow and the green. I want you to put your attention on there. Close your eyes and repeat those 8 magical words. I honor the space in which you exist.
I honor the space in which you exist.
And again, with these, there's no work involved. You just allow the power, which is now flowing from these magical little wands, into an area of your body that needs perceived healing. Okay, notice I say perceived, because that's exactly what it is. There is an infinite amount of configurations of you in existence. Just outside our, in this embodiment, we use 5 senses to navigate reality. But just outside those 5 senses is a whole multitude of realities that we can't understand because the other senses in our bodies haven't been woken up. And in those configurations is the perfect you. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the energy from a perfect configuration of you and superimpose it in this reality over you using the power of Vita Navitus. This is always fun. So again, just put your attention on the yellow and the green. Back straight. Palms facing out. Breathe through your mouth, exhaling through your nose. With each in-breath, you're pulling those perfect versions of you closer. With each out-breath through your nose, you are pushing the old version of you out. It typically takes about 12 breaths to pull in the perfect version of you where the healing is already complete, and 13 in-breaths and 13 out-breaths to push out the version of you that we don't want. So here we go. 13 in, 13 out. With each in-breath, you're pulling the perfect version closer to you. Keep your eyes closed. Sometimes when the perfect version of you comes in, have you ever been on a ride or know what a gravity well is? It's where you feel your whole body's being pulled towards. And I know that people listening to the show now are feeling that. And what that is that's a gravity well, a physical gravity well that comes into your reality. And as it moves closer, it gets more intense, and it just illuminates your body and completely overlaps what you have. At the end of the 13th out breath, you just want to repeat, "It is done."
It is done. That was great. I was getting the anticipation well before I got to the 13th breath. It was really like, yes!
I breathe slower, so it took me a little longer.
But do you see how simple these techniques are with the right tool set? How fun they can be? When you have the ability to unlimit your thinking, you thereby unlimit your potential, okay? And you can play in a world that's unlimited, even though we're kind of in this embodiment, and create real change in the world. And that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to create positive change in the world through any and all means possible. And again, going back in time to that person I was before my wake-up experience, I had no idea life could be this much fun as we're doing it. So I want to share one more technique with you. And this one, you're just going to need a glass of water. And what I want you to do is just raise your hand over the glass of water about 3 inches and spread your fingers. Okay? Put your attention on the water. And in a second, you're going to start to feel energy just run down through your hand into the water. It can be a straight up lightning bolt. It can be little pin pricklies. It can be heat. It can be anything, but it's undeniable once it starts. And with your attention on the water, repeat those 8 magical words. I honor the space in which you exist. And what you'll feel is instantly that energy just starting to flow even faster. Okay? Energy in physical form or non-physical form, again, will do anything for you as long as you acknowledge its existence. And the highest form of acknowledgement you can give energy is by promoting those 8 little words. Now, this is just a simple little gesture of goodwill into the water. Now, when you drink it, you're going to notice a couple different things. The taste is completely smooth. The texture is very palatable. But more importantly is where it's moving in your body energetically once you have drinking it. And don't say your stomach. Concentrate in your body where the energy is moving. And again, this is another simple form to help heal the body. You now have that energy in your body,
And for anyone else who is ready for a shift, that I give thanks for the perfect synchronicity coming to me with grace and ease. Let's claim that. Okay, next question is Beth from California in the US. And she's saying, I never remain conscious during an entire Kryon channeling. Could it be that I am overwhelmed by their high vibration because I don't vibrate high enough myself? Or maybe I'm not an old soul. So Lee, Beth is not able to be consciously there for the Kryon channel.
That tells me she's an old soul.
Yes, exactly.
That's exactly what it tells me. Beth, a good half of my audiences for more than 31 years have told me this exact same thing. Something's going on with the channel that is beyond the words and the feeling. An energy of a channel is often takes you away from 3D. I think you know that. In that state, there's just more personal teachings for you beyond what is being channeled. Later, you can go back and listen to it if you're thinking you're missing it. Kryon actually has given a name to that. He's called it the third language. Now, there is no language, and it's not really the third, because what's the second? What that is a metaphor. 3 is a catalyst. So it's a language for you that it is not words. It's taking you someplace for whatever you need, whether it's just to sit and be or meditate, or maybe you're being given things. This is so common. And what I said, because you're an old soul, this is happening to you, because I don't think this happens to just casual people who come into the channel. If they're not getting it, they're probably sleeping. And the key is if you're snoring. So that's one of them. That's how I know this. But I'll tell you, this particular question is so common to our work, and so it's not the first time that we've seen it. When you first got into the Kryon work and heard channelings, did that ever happen to you? I never asked you that.
I have such an active mind that I'm not one to just kind of go out easily. So I actually celebrated when I did, because it was finally my intellect stepping aside and letting me just go to that place. And some of you, it's automatic. So celebrate that.
So really, truly does have to do with the intellect being set aside as well.
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for saying that, because that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to tell you, you are right in the bag with so many people.
Absolutely. Right. So I think we're now moving into our brief meditation and then the Kryon channel.
Let's do it.
And I think what I want to premise this meditation with is that the 9 attributes of the human soul, Kryon said that we had 3 groups of 3 that make up those 9 attributes. And the groups are the Gaia support group, the human consciousness soul group, and then you had the actual higher self soul group. So with those 3 different groups, let's spend a little time connecting with those soul energies within those 3 different groups. And so I invite you to focus your energy and attention onto your feet, and through your feet, feel, sense, or imagine the connection you share with the planet. Pieces and parts of your soul are within the planet. This is why Gaia knows every footstep you take. There is more than a relationship. There is a partnership where you have so much support coming to you from the planet. So let us be in gratitude and thanks for that connection. And let us bring our awareness into the corporeal body and focus on our human consciousness and our intellect that's connecting us to the consciousness and to our soul through our pineal, through our brain, through our heart. This beautiful triad we have of connection to our soul. And let's just be in gratitude and thanks that we have this beautiful triad, this relationship with our soul working for us. And finally, let us place our attention on our soul group. And I mean the soul that is inside of you and the soul that is outside of you on the other side of the veil. And all our guides and angels, the soul group, the family soul that is orchestrating the perfect synchronicities. You have an entire entourage within your soul. And let us give deep gratitude and thanks that we have this invisible entourage 24/7 connecting with us and wanting only the most benevolent, positive outcome. And within these three beautiful groups, we give thanks to the Creator. We give thanks to our higher self. Our higher self is in each one of those three groups. And in our gratitude and thanks, we are now ready to receive another installment from Kryon about the beautiful attributes of our soul.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. This entire month, I have been giving you a theme: the extraordinary attributes of the soul. This soul of yours, you say human soul. I'll say this again because it was brought up yet in the discussion of today. There are souls in this planet that you call human souls. But a soul is much larger than anything that belongs to a human. Would it surprise you if I told you there are spiritual beings all over this galaxy, perhaps even the universe as you know it, that have souls, and they're not human? A soul is a piece of God. It is an immense, immense piece. You might say it's almost as big as God if you could put a circle around God, and you cannot. We covered that in the first week. We told you about how souls share one another, and we are speaking now of souls that are human on the planet. We talk about this very, very complex subject of how you can actually have pieces and parts of you with others, and the beauty of that and the magnificence of it. We've talked about the multidimensionality of the soul and how it can be several places at once. And some will say, I don't understand that. How could I be multiple places at once? And I say, you don't have to understand it, dear ones, any more than you have to understand how God can listen to a billion prayers at the same time and still have a personal spot for you, your prayer and you. You are part of that arrangement. You are part of that energy of the creative source. That's how. We told you about guides and angels. This was perhaps one of the most, I would say, entertaining parts because everyone seems to understand angels and have some semblance of what a guide might be in their life and respond to it even as children. And it's part of your soul. We gave you those three channels already this month. And we wrap it up with this fourth extraordinary attribute of the human soul, the soul, for you, dear ones. And it's the one that is the closest to you. It is the part of your soul that is common enough so that the definition and the words and all of that seems to be available, more available. If you said, what is soul sharing? Many people would say, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's a concept that is odd or strange. If you talked about the higher self, there would be an acknowledgement, oh yes, the higher self. There are many who would say that channeling in general, including what you're hearing now, is the human being able to go to the other side of the veil, as you might say, popping into that soul across the bridge, and then channeling information from there. And that would be channeling the higher self. Is that the way it works? Well, that depends upon the definition of higher self. Number one, is it yours? Now, careful, because you say, well, of course, I have a higher self. Who else would it be? I talked about soul sharing. When you pop into that soul of yours, what if the entire universe is there? It's a multidimensional aspect of God. So is your higher self you, that's simply a higher vibration, or does it represent something far, far larger? The answer is all of those, because it can be. It can be so small, it's like an atom. It can be so large, it's like the universe. Dear ones, your higher self is your relationship to your soul. The higher self is your relationship to your own soul. And it is partly in 3D. And that is why I've waited until this last session to paint a picture of this for you, so you'd understand. You might say the divinity of your soul is partially available to you all of the time without even crossing that bridge we do, that the members all know about in the Circle of 12. That higher self, some have said, this is the angel on my shoulder. Some have said, this is the intuition that I count on. Others have said, my guides are one thing, my angels are around, but my higher self, this is the one. My own guide is my higher self. This is what many have said, because that's how they relate to something which is them, perhaps with their face, but is vibrating at such a high level that they can look up to it and say, that's my divinity. And yet it hides, does it not? If you talk to someone who was not in this session, perhaps, or listening to this channel, perhaps, in another culture, perhaps, and you say, tell me about your higher self, they would have no idea what you're talking about. Would they say, well, is it a saint in my church? And you'd say, well, not quite. And so they would not relate to it. But you may. Because here, and I'm going to give you right now something that's quite controversial. Does everyone have a higher self? And the answer is yes. Every single human being has a higher self. That higher self, is it always available? Yes, it is. Always available. What does the higher self do? Let's get to that. But the big question is this: if everyone has it, why isn't everyone aware of it? And the answer is because this is the attribute of your soul, the most beautiful attribute, the closest one, that simply sits back and waits for you to acknowledge it. Were you aware that the almighty presence of the divine creator has given you free choice to find your sacredness or not? There's nothing on this planet that says you have to find the higher self. This is the free choice you have. There are millions on this planet who are not interested in their divinity. There are millions on this planet who will go all of their lives and not even want to discover it because they feel they have what they need. And in 3D, they're in survival mode. They know how to go from A to B. They got it figured out because that's what they were told. Or their parents never broached the issue. Or they never had any friends who said, did you know there's a God? And they say no. And all that time, the guides and the angels are there. And the higher self is there. And their soul is there. How does it make you feel to know that all the tools you've ever needed to heal yourself, to move into that job you want, to create the synchronicity that you're asking for, all of that comes in with you. And it waits. It waits for you to acknowledge that it exists, number one. And that often would create an awakening. And that awakening the human being has to a greater truth, perhaps, would then have them start to ask questions. Well, how do I know you're there? And then there's the proof period. What do I do next? And then there's the synchronicity period. And finally, you get to understanding, I'm an old soul on this planet. I can create my own reality. I can heal myself. I can use everything that has been given to me that I've had from birth. This is a premise that you're probably not even aware of. There are those who say, well, if God really loves me, God's going to show it. God's going to rescue me from this and do these things. And I've been told that all I have to do is sit here and it's going to happen. There is some truth to that. And the truth is this: God loves you. But you're going to have to shake hands with that. You're going to have to cognize it. It's not a handout as you would expect it. It's a hand from the other side of the family that's filled with love and says, are you ready to go to work? Are you ready to take the other part of you, cross the bridge, and start creating the beauty that will affect you and others, the planet, Gaia, the animals, the trees? Because you become a part, are you ready, of a group. The higher self is part of a group. It's so personal. There will be those who say, well, okay, how does it work? You said you'd say that, all right? The higher self is connected in so many ways to the other side of the veil, but humanness has its biology, it has its own attributes, and part of that, as suspected, is the pineal. The pineal that lines right up with the bindi, with the third eye, acknowledged in certain cultures because they know it and they feel it. There is indeed part of the multidimensionality of your body that transmits itself and receives through the pineal. This is a piece and a part of the connection of the higher self, the innate, all the parts of you that seem to be part of the other side of the veil or more knowing than your brain is. That's how it works. But that's not all. This higher self of you, of yours. Oh, you all have a higher self. And what have I told you about you all of anything? It means that when you get to that place where you cross the bridge and you go to that beautiful thing you call your soul and your higher self is there, all of the higher selves are there as well of your family. You cannot separate your higher self from all of the higher selves of all of the old souls on this planet. And that, my dear friends, explains synchronicity. Because you're all working together in order to make things happen if there are those who wish to look. Anyone who wants to hook into this plan, if you might say, this greater, bigger truth, you might say, can do it instantly. It's not a club. It comes with you, free choice. But when you start looking at that higher self of yours, it's not alone. It always involves others. The family, the higher self of every human being. That's in the field. And that creates the synchronicity that you've been asking for and looking for, that keeps you from the potholes of life and steers you with intuition into the most beautiful places you can imagine, which is what you deserve. That's what the higher self does. A group, not one thing. You want more? Come back. And let's do some things in the circle of 12. And let's meet some of the others. And so it is.
And from that beautiful place of connection with the higher self, let us gently bring our awareness back into our body, connecting in with the energy within your feet. Allow yourself to feel a little more grounded into the energy of the earth. And perhaps taking a deep breath through your nose and gently sighing out. And if you've had those beautiful eyes closed, we invite you to open your eyes. And as we feel into the energy of the earth, this is where I get to say how delighted we are that our next speaker is deeply connected to the energies of the earth. And his name is Asil Toxal.